Hi guys, so I'm going to give you just a quick overview on general editing things in Weebly. So when you log in, you should come to a screen that looks a lot like this. Okay, so you get to choose which website you're going to edit. Mostly we focus on the North Cross School with lowercase letters and the North Cross School Legacy Campaign. So for this one, I'm just going to use the North Cross School site as the one that we edit, just for showing. When you click the edit website, you're brought to a main window where your options are to build, which is the default view. These are all the items you can build with, and you can scroll this to find the things you want. And I'll go through those in more detail in a second. You can also click pages if you want to navigate quickly to a page. So not all the pages are in these navigation items, though these work. When you're in the editor, if you click that, you will be brought to those pages. However, when you're in this view, you can get access to pages that maybe don't show up in the main navigation. You know that those are pages that don't show up because they have this eye with a not clickable menu indication on them. This is also true for things like the Board of Trustees, which needs to be updated every fall with new members and members who have rolled off, and as well as the NCS administration, which we'll use that as a page that we can update right now, since there are, in fact, items that need to be updated there. Also, there is the image library, which is another hidden page. This is where I copy items when I don't really want to delete them because there's something I might use later, but I don't really want them showing up on a page right now, but I don't want to get rid of them. So, things like the PDF icon that you see on a lot of pages, things like that, I'll keep on the image library page, or sign up forms or things like that that are time sensitive that go away after a while. But we use every year, I'll put there. So check that before you have to make something again if you feel like we've done it before. The Cross Ties Archive, this is something that also resides in the footer, like the NCS administration, the Board of Trustees, and employment opportunities. HR may ask you at some points to list an opportunity there, and that's where you would put it. So let's go to the NCS administration page, and basically when you click that, it'll take you to the page, and these are the people that are currently in the administration. Now, I'm not going to really touch anything yet. The only thing I'll touch is myself at this point because I'll be stepping off the soonest. And to do that, so let's say I had to change my name. I decided after all this time that I was actually going to go by Ferrara. You can highlight it and change. The problem is when you change something that's linked, and this text was linked to an email address, once you start typing, it won't necessarily link the new text you type. And so you'll have to remember to update that link. And to link something to an email, you would hit link, and then you can pick from all these different things to link to. A file would be something like a PDF or Word document. Usually I keep PDFs because they're more universal and we don't always want people editing what's on them. It can link to a phone number. It can link over to a blog post because those aren't quote-unquote standard pages. They're their own type of page, and they change. So more get added as we add blog posts. Product page we don't use because this was designed, mostly for e-commerce, but we're not that. So a standard page is like one of the other pages within the site, and so when you click that, you will get a menu of all the pages. But what I want to do is I want to link it to an email, and then you just type in the email address, make sure it's a correct one, and then you hit that, and then that text turns red, so you know that we're in good shape. Now, so that's how you edit text. You can also bold it, underline it, italicize it. If I need to move something within the page, I have this set up. I'll go back to build here. We have once you start creating these columns within these two things, you can create a bigger space between columns, and that'll sort of move things away from each other. That's why that keeps popping up. You can also move something, so I could take this whole block and move it over here. I could, and the reason it's under a divider is because I'm not really a senior staff, but a lot of people want to know who's in charge of the communications office. So I suggest changing this with you and or one of your addresses, email addresses. Pick who you want that to be. If you want just to list David as Director of Institutional Advancement, that might be fine. People would default go to him and not put something here. It's up to you guys to decide. When you place a photo, most likely it'll come in like really big based on whatever resolution it's inputted at. And you can scale it just by dragging that corner one way or another. And I try to match these. The other thing you can do is delete items within an item. So I had a text box. Hold on. I'm going to delete. Well, it's not letting me delete it. Weebly's also pretty finicky sometimes. Never mind. But you can add an image to a text box. Basically, you go up to here, you take an image, and you bring it into an existing text box. And you'll get this little like blue corner up in the corner, and you just let it go. And then you go and choose the file you want. So if I click, I just want to get rid of that, and I hit delete, the item goes away. Once you do this, you cannot get it back. So if you make a mistake, don't publish the site, and eventually it'll revert back to what it was before it was published. But you have to be sure nobody else is editing the site and publishing it, because whatever changes were made will then be a part of your new edits. So this is a place you want to keep up to date, kind of keep in the back of your heads. That needs to be new. And then let's see, let's go into an academic page. And I'll just outline quickly some of the elements that are used and how you might change them if needed. So if I go to pages, I'm in the 4th and 5th grade page. These are the settings. It has a header. And when it has a header, that means it has this sort of image with a big title. If I were to take that away, this image and title will go away, and it would just immediately start into the page, much like the administration page we were just on. Visibility is just like who can see the page. It's a public page. You can also set it to be a site password page, like our faculty and staff links, where you're required to enter a password, or you can make it only visible to certain people. I've never used that part. Now, if I go back to my build and I start to scroll on down, there's that pop-up window that I created on the home page and copied over to this page. And then there's just, this is another add-on. This is where I've added an app that allows us to add videos in a sort of like a scrolling way, so people can kind of flip through videos. You'll see them sort of transition from one to the other. And these are just ones that highlight the programming at 4th and 5th grade levels. So people who are interested in finding out more hands-on stuff can find those. And that's that. This is a button. Briefly touch on that. Sorry, my internet's kind of slow right now. When you click on a button, you get the text. That's where you would enter that. You can choose what kind of alignment it has, what style it is. This is one of the bigger buttons. There's also smaller buttons. I wouldn't use the blue ones. They're not really in our color scheme. And where those buttons link. So if this is going to an inquiry page, you hit standard page, which just means that it's a page that already exists inside the website. You're not leaving the site to get to this. And then you just pick the page that you want it to go to. So you would go down to admissions and inquire and tour and click that. And if you hit open in a new window, it means it keeps this existing tab open for the user and pops it into a new window. I don't normally do that unless I'm linking to a site that's outside of the school site. That way they preserve the school site as their default. This is just a divider. That's another element you can drag from over here, right here, and it just helps space things out visually. There are two types of text. There's title, which is what this is. So when I drag a title box over, you'll get that formatting. When I drag text over that, you'll get that formatting. And those are the only two fonts that are used on this entire site. So you can bold them, you can capitalize them, whatever, but that's it. And that just helps keep everything consistent. In this setting, I have 2 columns of text, and the way you make 2 columns is, so like you'll see this is a full column. The 5th grade goes all the way across the screen. If I wanted to make another column next to that, I would drag it to the side of the item I wanted to split. So you see that blue vertical line that kind of shows up. If I let go, it'll push the existing text that was there and split it halfway by default. And so now I have another equal half where I can put text. I can play with this placement by dragging this blue bar. So let's say I wanted this to be a little bit wider. Hold on. I can do that. If I hold down the Shift key while doing that, I have a little even more precision that I can do that with. This is great to use, but I also highly recommend you look at what this looks like on a cell phone, because although this may look pretty on a laptop, it may create some weird, what comes first, what comes next kind of stuff that happens. So I try not to get too crazy with the columns, because usually what happens is that the column, it will read the first column on the left-hand side first, and then move to the right. So in this sense, it makes sense on this page because you're seeing this, then this, then this. Whenever you're in doubt of how that's going to look, you can go up to this area here, click the desktop or mobile view, and if I hit mobile, it'll show me what the site looks like on a mobile page. So there's the pop-up that you would normally see, and then if I were to scroll down into the page, you can see how this stuff plays out. And so see, like, these videos get really small, but that's okay. They can go to it, it'll launch into their full screen. It goes through the intro, it goes to the classroom, the more, and then the PDFs and a sample day. So you see it all kind of flows correctly, so I'm happy with that. And I'm good with that. So then I'll just go back to my desktop view because it's easier to edit that way. So now I'm scrolling down. There's pretty much, the one thing I can say for Weebly, it does not take a lot to learn it. It's just about thinking at it more from a designer's perspective of what information needs to be seen at first glance and what can be used as maybe pop-up windows or in some other condensed way so we don't overwhelm the user. If you go up to, let's say, athletics, this is a great example. You'll see in that we used these accordion boxes that allow for more information to be shown in a sort of a tighter way. So Tracy Schaefer updates this. She has access to this page. So she makes edits to coaches and things like that, so you don't have to worry about that. But if we were to ever add a new sport or something like that, we would probably want to just check out and make sure we do it correctly, or if she has done it herself. But for instance, this is that accordion item, and that was an add-on that we added. So if we scroll down to our add-ons, you'll see accordion here. And basically it allows you to choose how many items are in the menu. But when a user comes to the site, it looks like this. So they're not getting like every sport and every description of every sport at once. They get little snippets based on what they're interested in. So you can see here, this is how many pieces I want, what the background is. It's very simple to use. And that was what I was going to say, is that Weebly makes everything pretty straightforward. It's pretty what you see is what you get. And for that, let's say I have to, the last thing I'll go over is how to update a file. So there's a lot of PDFs on this site. And one of those, obviously, is our tuition and fee schedules. In terms of the academic divisions, we have the faculty directories and the program of study, and that shows up on several pages. So once you finalize those things, you need to update them on several things. It doesn't just automatically update them all. So if we go to the Affording North Cross page, you'll see we've got this early childhood program, comprehensive tuition and fees. And right now it's up to date, it's 2021. But if I were to have to upload a new document, let's say in the coming year, I always have PDFs open in a new window. That way they can get back to the site if they're done with the document. I would click on this, and if it was something I'd already uploaded on a different page, it should show up in this gallery if you do a search for it, if you know the name of it. If not, you would just click Upload New, and you would upload that from your computer. Be sure when you're doing that just to name things for your own sanity, name things differently. So always name it by a version, like V1, V2, or whatever, so you know that you're using the latest when you're updating, especially when you have to update on multiple pages. Let's see, all of this text is editable. You can, highlight it and write on it, type on it just like you would in any other type of document. Anything that you see is red, obviously, is a link. So like this is 2021, so we're good on that. These are things that change during the year. So again, these are things you just have to kind of every now and again, especially do it in the fall and spring, is to go through the pages that to make sure we're not missing any dated material. So like for here, tailored tuition was required by 2019. I'm going to keep that here for now because we're still in our current academic year, but as soon as the next year starts, we're going to want to change that to 2020. So anyway, these are the things that hopefully Lauren in admissions can update as needed, since she'll have her finger on the pulse of all things admissions. But just so that you all know, these are all things. Again, so parent support is where we have all our parent groups. And that is something where you will want to see, like if our PA head changes, you'll want to, change that there. If you want to do the Winter Gallon auction, obviously already happened, so we'd want to change that. This is another way for parents to get involved, so figure out how you want that to change. Right now this all looks gray, and that's just because we're highlighting this section, but it's really a white background. That's why this would actually look like it's floating. Cultural affinity groups, as people change, we need to make sure we keep all these things updated. Boosters, that leadership is going to change. I don't know that they even gave a contact person for this, so that might be something we want to add. Friends of the Arts, I don't even know if this group is going to exist next year, so these are all things you want to keep in mind. And this may be as we move away from on campus to FACS, where we put a form for parents to sign to volunteer for items, and look in the development folder on the server to find that parent volunteer form from yesteryear. And that's really it. I think most of these things, like the inquiry form on admissions, is fed by on campus. So again, when we switch over to FACS, this is some embedded HTML that's going to have to change. That's one more thing I can show you quickly is they do have this feature for embed code, and that's how this inquiry form is currently showing up. When you drag a thing like that, you just get this blank sort of edit custom HTML. And so like when we embed Google Calendars and things like that, if I were to go to the marketing calendar and hit settings and sharing, you would see down here, if I can find it, here it is. If you wanted to embed this onto that page, you would copy this code and bring it over to your Weebly page and then paste it in there. And if you give it a second, boom, there's your marketing calendar. So it's just a way to take other people's iframe codes and put them into our site. So calendars is pretty much the only way that we do that. I think we do it a little bit with the juicer apps and things like that, but mostly it's these inquiry forms and things like in calendars that we do it for. When we can announce that we've won the Roanoke 2020, which will be in May, you'll need to add that icon to this list of 4. And I'm pretty sure we're winning that as well. So you'll want to get that new icon from Josh Egan at Growing Up in the Valley. And I think, just keep an eye on the photos, make sure they don't get tired. If there's areas where you see like, oh, well, somebody else could be in charge of updating this because it's, not anything we really have to do with, feel free to give access to those pages. As admins, you can do that here under editors, under settings, and you can pick which pages they have access to when you sign them up, and that's under the author setting. So as an author, you can choose if they only have access to a few pages. And that should pretty much do it. Of course, there's tons of tutorials out there, I'm sure. They have a pretty robust help section. If there's anything else you'd ever want to see the site too, check out the apps area. Some of them are free. They just have branding with them. Other than that, it's, pretty handy dandy site. So good luck.